This meeting will now commence at 6:03 p.m. The first order of business is roll call. May we please commence roll call?
Yes. To begin, we have student trustee Bravo. Bravo absent. President Kumar.
Here.
Kumar present. Vice President Ahmed. Ahmed absent. Treasurer Niamanuri.
Here.
Niamanuri present. Chief of Staff Almendras.
Here.
Almendras present. Chairwoman Hamad.
Present.
Hamad present. Chairwoman El Adawi.
Present.
El Adawi present. Chairwoman Nadala.
Present.
Nadala present. Chairwoman Obire.
Present.
Chair Obire present. Chairwoman Show.
Here.
Show present. Speaker of the House is Sincheva.
Present.
Sincheva present. Representative Petineo.
Here.
Petineo present. Representative Kasowski.
Here.
Kasowski present. Representative Denebad. Representative Denebad. Absent. Representative Nehi.
Here.
Nehi present. Representative Aranda Ortiz.
Present.
Aranda Ortiz present. Representative Taylor.
Present.
Taylor present. Representative Abdel Salam.
Present.
Abdel Salam present. Representative Selvaraj.
Present.
Selvaraj present. Representative B.
Excused absence.
Thank you so much. Representative Fernandez.
Excused absence.
Thank you. Representative Villagomez.
Present.
Villagomez present. Representative Hack.
Present.
Hack present. Representative Nguyen.
Present.
Nguyen present. Representative Al-Zahari. Representative Al-Zahari.
I see that she's in the meeting.
My mic isn't working. Al-Zahari present. Representative Bilbasi Gamani.
Present.
Bilbasi Gamani present. Representative Khan.
Present.
Khan present. Representative Malik.
Present.
Malik present. Representative Henry.
Present.
Henry present. Representative Chris Mann.
Present.
Chris Mann present. Representative Bora.
Present.
Bora present. And for the records, Vice President Anna Ahmed is present. Thank you. That concludes roll call.
Thank you so much. The next order of business is reading and approval of the minutes. Please take this time to read over the minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes? If not, the minutes will stand as approved. The next order of business is reading and approval of the agenda. Please take this time to read over the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to remove guest speaker Catherine Yoshida. We've decided to postpone her presentation until next week.
All right, so there has been a motion to remove guest speaker Catherine Yoshida. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, has been moved and seconded. All those in favor of removing Catherine Yoshida from guest speakers, please say aye.
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 All that opposed, please say nay. Does anybody abstain? Okay, the ayes have it, and Catherine has been removed from the list of guest speakers. Are there any other changes to the agenda?
Yes, I motion to amend section of guest speakers and add Students for Justice in Palestine.
Students, can you repeat that? Student for Justice and what?
In Palestine?
Oh, in Palestine.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So there has been a motion to add guest speakers, Students for Justice in Palestine. Is there a second?
Second.
Has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All that opposed, please say nay. Does anybody abstain? Okay, so we have added Students for Justice in Palestine to our list of guest speakers. Are there any other changes to the agenda?
Dizzy, I just have a question. You know how I told you they would be speaking during like resolution time? Is it fine if we keep them under guest speakers?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other changes to the agenda? Any old business, new business? Resolutions, anything? Okay, if not, then the agenda will stand as approved. So our next order of business is public comment. Do we have any public comment? Okay, if there is no public comment, then we can move on to the next order of business, which is guest speakers. So first we have Vice Chancellor Coronado. You will have 10 minutes to present, and then there will be 20 minutes for questions. So feel free to start whenever you're ready.
I actually don't see our guest speaker in the Zoom call.
Interesting. Okay. In that case, let's move on to the next guest speakers, and then we'll see if the chancellor shows up. Okay, so let's hear from UIC Engineering Design Team. You guys will have 5 minutes to present, and then a few minutes for questions.
Hey there. Would you like me to share my screen?
Sure, if you'd like.
I would like. Move this. All right, are you able to see it? All right, so I'm speaking on behalf of Chicago EDT. I am the president, and I'm joined along with Matt Myers, our treasurer. We're here to request a little bit of funding for materials for our shop. So a little bit about us. We have a 4-officer organization, and 2 of us are here today. I'm Caleb and Matt. So what we do at EDT is we teach our engineering members how to use the softwares and hands-on training to get them a job later down the line, and make sure that they're able to perform outside of the schooling teachings. So we teach them SolidWorks, how to use microcontrollers. We teach PCB design. We use GitHub for technical collaborations. We teach different types of workflow management systems. We teach our mechanical members how to machine so they can build their own parts instead of having to order them and having to go through the whole process of outside manufacturing. We do a lot of our manufacturing in-house, and all of our members are pretty proficient in their hands-on material design and understanding the engineering requirements that are required for robotics. So a couple of our accomplishments are in the past couple of years, we've come in second, third, and fourth in the UC MRDC, which is the Midwestern Robotics Design Competition. It's an objective-based competition where we put our handmade robots into the competition and have them fight in compete against other robots. We also compete with the NASA rover competition, where we came in second place, third place, and third place over the past couple of years. So we're the head of UIC in the robotics division. We're the robotics face of UIC. So, Matthew. Don't know if we can hear you. Here.
Hello, sorry, I was muted.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Matt. I'm the treasurer for EDT. So these are the projects that we're doing for this year, and we basically split them up into 3 categories. So as Caleb mentioned, MRDC, that's one of the competitions we do. And we have 3 teams for that. One is Stella, one is Artois, and one is Team Air. So Air is our drone team, and the 2 other ones are ground robots. RoboBrawl, those are decided to take on more personal projects, not related to competitions due to COVID. So those are a robotic arm, a electric drift trike, and a micro mouse. And then overall, we have 8 teams and 50 members total. And then these are some pictures of the projects themselves. So how we're working during COVID, actually we had our entire space remade over the summer. And since then we've moved in and started holding meetings of 5-person max, and obviously social distancing and masks, but we have been able to get back to some of the hands-on activities. And this is our workspace.
So why we're asking for a little bit of money is since due to COVID, a lot of funding got cut, and with renovations, we'd like to make sure that our workspace is a little bit future-proof. So how we've been gathering like our furniture around the shop has just been by garbage picking, basically. So our rolling chairs don't really roll. They got cuts in the bottoms. We don't have anywhere to sit in our back workshop. So most of the stuff that we're really asking for is just seating. So here's the funding list if for later down the line if you need this. So we're just asking for $1,006.24. And we know it's quite a bit of money, but it's for our legs because we're upstanding most of the time. And we also have cabinets to hold a bunch of our materials for making sure that it's not scattered and everyone is safe. And if you want to know a little bit more about the organization, you can go to our website and find out here. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we'll have a few minutes for questions. Does anybody have any questions?
I don't know if I missed this. I just wanted to know, where is your workshop located in campus?
Yeah. So if you know where the maker spaces, road building.
Thank you.
You can find it with the big garage, and then we have EDT above it. It's hidden away.
Kayla?
Yeah, I feel like this is a really reasonable ask. It's like chairs and, things that most people need or something for this. Just, it's like chairs and stuff. Have they not provided you guys with this or?
Yeah. Well, in the past, we've been going to like the distribution center for UIC where they take like the old chairs and toss them. So that's where we've been getting our chairs that we currently have, and that's where we've always been told to go. So it's just like the funding that could come in, but like you guys are on your feet anyways. Why do you need chairs? So yeah.
Thank you. We have time for one more question. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, I have a question. So how will USG be credited for these purchases?
So what we'd like to do, we have sponsors and we have a lot of members who come from other organizations. We always make sure that we thank them and make sure that our collaborations are made aware of their contribution to our work. So we'll when we present to the engineering council and stuff and those other priority organization and events, we make sure to include your name in our work.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so that's all the time we have for questions. Thank you so much. It would be awesome if you guys could put in any contact information in the chat so our members could contact you if they have any additional questions. Again, thank you so much for your presentation. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, or you're welcome to leave if you'd like.
Sweet, thank you.
Thank you. All right, so for our second guest speaker, Wasan, would you like to introduce them?
Yeah, actually, Caleb, do you think you could stop screen sharing? Thanks a
I could
bunch.
do that. Thank you.
Thanks a bunch. Yeah. Our next guest speaker is the Vice Chancellor for Administrative Services, John Coronado. He oversees aspects of student life, including like transportation, policing, public safety, environmental safety, and of course, UIC's COVID-19 response. So we've got about 10 minutes for Vice Chancellor Coronado's presentation, and then about another 20 minutes for questions from everyone here.
Okay, thank you, Wasson. Appreciate the opportunity to address the undergrad student government. The campus is making, as you know, made an announcement that we're going to have pretty much normal classes in the fall semester, exceptions being lectures greater than 100 students and limited other offerings. And so we really expect the campus density to be back mostly normal. So there is going to be a town hall presented later this month. It's going to be open to all faculty, students, and staff. And then we expect to do some more town halls as we learn more over the spring and summer in preparation for the fall, because it still is somewhat dynamic and some things are changing. But right now, I'll highlight some of the things that we're planning for fall. First off, vaccination update. So as you know, Illinois is currently in phase 1C, which means that all higher ed faculty and staff are eligible to receive the vaccine. And I was on a call with the Illinois Department of Public Health last week, and they said that they expect that all people over the age of 16 will be eligible for vaccinations beginning April 12th, which is next Monday, which is fantastic because originally there have been predictions about being more towards May. So we'll be encouraging all students to get vaccinated as soon as possible. And summer session has already been advertised as mostly online, and we expect no significant changes in terms of our COVID public health safety posture on campus for the summer session. So the rest of my time discussion will be about the fall. So one of the things that we know that CDC is talking about is similar to K through 12 education. They talk about maybe reducing the distancing from 6 foot to 3 foot. And so we're factoring that into some of our plans. We're also exploring the possibility of erecting all season enclosed tent structures around the campus so that there's additional locations for students to study or stream classes. And our technology solutions organization is planning to add additional cameras and IT capabilities in the classrooms, not only to be able to allow us to better pivot more quickly if needed, but also to make sure that we have improved recording and streaming capability, not only in the classroom, but across the campus as well. So our planning continues to be informed by science and CDC and the public health recommendations. And we're pretty confident that our campus spaces will be safe because we have multiple layers of safety in an effort to keep COVID-19 off our campus. First off, we have the vaccine, and we're pretty certain that there's going to be ample opportunity for anyone desiring a COVID vaccination to get vaccinated. And we hope that we will achieve herd immunity by the beginning of the semester. We plan on continuing implementing the UIC Health Check. As you know, that's the self-attestation tool that we require for everyone coming to campus on a daily basis to fill it out and to get a badge. And we really want to continue emphasizing that anyone who is not feeling well, exhibiting fever, they shouldn't be coming to campus. Our saliva test program is going to continue. We do expect that we're going to continue the periodic mandatory surveillance testing. It's to be determined if it's going to continue on a weekly and bi-weekly basis the way it is now, or if it will be something different. But we do expect to have the saliva testing. And that combination of health check and saliva testing, we have a badging program right now. And we expect that will also continue. So you can expect to be required to show your badges to verify that you're compliance with both health check and saliva testing when you're coming to campus, probably before you enter academic buildings and things like that. The masking requirement, of course, will continue. We know that that's the single best way to protect not only yourself and others from COVID-19. And the university does plan to provide 2 additional cloth face masks to all employees and students at the beginning of the semester. And then, of course, the social distancing, which I mentioned. Right now, it's 6-foot social distancing, and our classrooms are prepared for that. But we're expecting that that change will likely go to 3 foot, and we'll make the adjustments once it's announced. And then the last piece is the hand hygiene. Hygiene is going to continue to be emphasized. We're going to have plenty of sanitization stations across the campus, and wipes will also be available. And where I recommend that students and staff also carry their own personal size bottle of hand sanitizer. You know, and one note from an operational perspective, it's important to understand that the campus really never shut down at all during the pandemic. And our saliva testing and contact tracing programs have really been proven to be instrumental in quickly identifying cases of COVID and then getting the people into isolation or quarantine as quickly as possible. And our contact tracers have said that, you know, they're confident that there's been no known COVID transmission cases in our classrooms. So what are we doing to make sure we continue having safe places? So we're going to continue with, you know, looking at our safety plans, which we have for our buildings, and they address our heating, ventilation, air conditioning systems, our water systems, the cleaning and sanitization standards, spacing and configuration protocols to make sure that we're compliant with the density requirements. The signage and barriers and sanitizers, some of those will still be in place. And then for the staff, you can expect that our work schedules and some of the remote working will continue so that the buildings, so many of the buildings will continue to remain locked with swipe access only. Some buildings may only have designated entrances and exits. The general use classrooms, libraries, and student centers, those will continue to remain open to the public. You know, and then the elevators, stairwells, restrooms, we're gonna have signage and more robust cleaning of those areas because they're a little more higher risk. And sanitizer and disinfectant wipes are gonna be readily available primarily at the entrances of buildings, elevator lobbies, classrooms, conference room, break areas, and open workstations. Cleaning responsibilities for faculty, staff, and students, will be some because our building service workers don't go everywhere. And so we're making sure that the staff knows their requirements and that they have adequate supplies of wipes and sanitizer and cleaning products available so those areas can be maintained. And then our building service workers, they're going to continue cleaning all the spaces that they've cleaned in the past. They currently disinfect the frequently touched surfaces several times a day, and they provide daily cleaning and sanitization of the classrooms that are in use. And then we've also added additional late night work shift to assist with the daily cleaning and disinfecting requirements. And we also do weekly deep cleaning and sanitization of classrooms, restrooms, and elevators using an electrostatic spraying process with hospital grade disinfectant. And then we also use that deep cleaning wherever we think there may have been a COVID exposure and a possible contamination of space. So we have that process pretty wired now, and we use it frequently. So that's pretty much, you know, in a nutshell, covers everything. One last thing, a lot of this cleaning and sanitization also applies to our transportation services. So our buses have already been configured with shields and reduced capacity, and our night ride and paratransit vehicles also get the daily disinfectant as well. So with that, I'll pause and open it up for questions.
All right, thank you so much for your presentation. So we'll have about 20 minutes for questions, and our Legislative Affairs Committee and Campus Life Committee have prepared a list of questions for you. So we'll give them the first 15 minutes, and then we'll have 5 minutes left for the members to ask any questions. So Committee Chairwoman, feel free to start whenever you're ready.
Hi, I just wanted to start off by saying thank you for coming to talk to us. And something that I was wondering about was whether students from out of state or international students will be required to quarantine again once coming back to you.
Okay, you broke up a little bit at the end there, Michelle, but I understand the basic question is whether or not international students and students from out of state will be required to quarantine. We, like in the past, we follow the guidance of the Chicago Public Health Department primarily in that term. They've have the list of states where they require quarantine. And so whatever they have in place, we'll model that, we'll mimic that.
Okay, one more question, a lot more questions, but the next one would be just for student organizations on campus, what will it look like for them to be getting back together? Will it still continue to be completely online, or will we be able to meet in person and just follow social distancing?
So I'd like to think that we'd be able to get allow meeting in person, especially since we expect that there'll be a higher vaccination rate and more safety protocols, and ideally a little more freedom to do some of these things. We released a announcement back in February that talked about for how people can plan for events. And so there is a process that's currently in place where you need to pretty much go through and identify the number of people, the location, the safety protocols that's going to be implemented, who's going to be responsible, run it through the student affairs personnel, and they may engage with our environmental health and safety team to authorize it. And then, so there will likely be some similar process. And then once this becomes more routine, then where you're using the same event location or whatever, that those protocols will be known, and we just need a responsible individual that's sponsoring it, things like that.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned tents.
Yes.
Yeah, so could you just explain a little bit more about what exactly that means or what that'll look like, and especially during the winter, what that'll be?
Yeah, so these are enclosed tent structures, and so they're heated and air conditioned. In fact, we went over to the University of Chicago to look at what they had in place, and we're going to do something similar. So we plan on establishing, if we go through with it, we will put them near the main thoroughfares so that they have ADA accessibility to them. They'll be lockable so that the furniture in those tents will remain in place. There'll be Wi-Fi capability so that the students can stream or take online classes while they're in between classes, or even study. Not quite sure if there's going to be some sort of reservation system in place yet, or whatever the conditions will be, but they will be treated like other indoor space where the distancing requirements will be there and likely be kind of quiet tents so that people can work in between classes.
I had a question. Hi, Dahlia. But I had a really quick question in regards to those private spaces that we were talking about. I know you did say that we were going to have tents. How are we going to ensure that the students that are coming from like in-person classes who don't have enough time to get back home for online classes are able to do those in a private area where they can share during classes and they feel like they're retaining the information?
Right, and that's the purpose of getting the tents, because we recognize that some classroom space or library space or other study space may be limited because of the capacity requirements. And so the thought was, to look into the possibility of getting tents, and I imagine a reservation system would be established similar to what the library has, so that people can reserve times and they can manage it that way. But we're still working through the details.
Follow-up question to that. Will there be enough bandwidth on campus to handle all the students who are logging onto their Zoom classes?
I'm not an expert on that, but our technology solutions, they briefed the cabinet, the chancellor's committees, executive committee, that they think that bandwidth would not be a problem. Thank you.
For campus housing, will guests be allowed in campus housing? Because I know they're currently not.
Right. I'm not sure if they've worked through that and made a decision yet. I know Vice Chancellor Tolliver talked about housing being right now they're planning for maximum of 2 people per room, but he didn't talk about whether visitor policy would change or not.
Kind of a hypothetical one for this one. Does UIC have a plan to transition back into online in case another outbreak happens, or like for specific classes, if a classmate has been exposed to COVID, will that class be going online until everyone has been cleared?
Yeah, they do have a plan, and they, for the classes that were in person, they've exercised that plans on occasion. So typically, right now the provost is working to make sure that any class can pivot to online when necessary. And then our contact tracing team has been very good at quickly identifying, who may have come in close contact to the infected individual, and identify those that are required to go into quarantine or isolation, and also determine whether the class needs to go online or if it can stay in person.
Thank you.
So you said we'll pivot to online. So, sorry, just to clarify, classes will be exclusively in person if it says in person on the My UIC page, on the registration page. So if students are uncomfortable being in person for classes for whatever reason, maybe they're immunocompromised or whatever, will there be specific accommodations made for them, or is that not a possibility?
No, I believe that's a possibility. We've talked about it. I'm not in charge of that, so I'm not quite sure what the procedures are, but I know just because the fact that we're likely to be, if it's 6-foot spacing, we can't accommodate the full section. And so there will be certain elements of the class that will be streaming or remote or listening asynchronously or whatever the case may be. And if we go to the 3-foot distance, that only typically gets about half the section in of a normal section size. And so there will be something, and my understanding is up to the instructor to kind of figure out, who can come to class, or who wants to come to class, and kind of self-govern that individual class and section about who comes and doesn't come.
Okay, thank you.
I wish I had the better answer, or more complete answer, but that's not in my area of purview.
I appreciate the answer you gave. It was as good as you could. Thank you.
Something I wanted to really quickly ask about, if we, because Wisconsin now and Texas for sure have 100% removed the mask mandate, how are we going to be dealing with students and faculty or professors that are coming from those areas?
Well, right now the campus policy is masks are required, and right now there's no intention to deviate from that. And so if there's a masking policy required, you're going to be expected to wear a mask. And if an individual refuses to comply, that individual will be asked to leave. We'll ask them to comply. We may have a surgical mask available to hand them if they don't have a mask, but the expectation right now is that everyone will be wearing a mask while on campus.
And as a quick follow-up to that at risk or largely at risk states in the very beginning of the pandemic, if you were coming from those areas, you were asked to quarantine for 2 weeks before going into your in-person classes, or you were asked to come early. Would the same be expected for people if those are still states that have a very high transmittance rate?
Again, I think that will depend on what the Chicago Department of Public Health is requiring, because a lot of those requirements were generated from the Chicago Department of Public Health, and so we just complied with whatever requirements they had in place.
Hi, I have a quick question, kind of off topic, but in terms of student organizations, are there any new rules that would come out in terms of meeting places and everything? Because I know in terms of orgs that are dancers, currently they can't practice on campus. Is there going to be a new space that will be provided, or how exactly would that work?
I'm not quite sure. I know that, I imagine that between now and the fall, we'll work out a process to approve events and identify locations where events can be held or in specific events. I'm not aware if Student Affairs or anyone else is looking to get additional venues and make them available for student events.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
How will UIC be distributing information on how like the guidelines for each building and classes are like being handled this semester? So will there be like orientation or something like that?
Sure. I know that while there's certainly will be some more town halls, we also have been relying heavily on Circle Back to Campus articles that come out every Thursday at 10 o'clock to highlight information and changes, as well as campus announcements and videos. There will be an orientation for transfers and incoming freshmen, and I'm sure that a lot will be covered at the orientation as well. And I imagine we'll work to try to have a comprehensive back to school, back to campus guide, similar to what we did in the fall.
Thank you.
So the pandemic has a lot of students are very anxious about the pandemic. Is there anything that UIC is doing to combat the possible mental health repercussions that the pandemic has had on students?
Yes, I know that's a big issue and big topic, and there's lots of discussion about trying to improve our mental health capacity and being able to have that service available for anyone that really needs it. But that's more in the student affairs realm. I don't have the details for that, but I know that it's a high priority topic.
That's good to know. Thank you.
In regards to academics, is there any set plan for something like a pass-fail policy or any changes to the way things will be graded? I know this is more of a provost question, but is it something that that's being considered at all?
I'm not up to speed on the latest of that. I know that I've heard the provost talk about it, and I know the Senate, there's been Senate discussions as well, but I'm not sure where we are on that.
If a class does end up going online due to someone in the class coming down with COVID, how long does the class stay online? Is that indefinitely, or is that kind of up to the professor? Or
usually, if there's a requirement due to COVID, it's about 2 weeks.
Okay.
So 10 days typically. So that's what we've been doing for the ones that I know of that have been affected.
So sorry if you already mentioned this and I didn't catch it, but will the vaccine be required to go back to classes or for entering into particular buildings?
There's lots of sorry, go ahead and finish.
How will UIC handle students who refuse to receive the vaccine?
So right now, there's no requirement to get the vaccine. There's been some discussions, and I'm sure you've heard of other schools like Rutgers and Cornell saying that they will be required for the fall semester. But we've not taken that step yet, and I'm not quite sure if we can take that step if we want, because we're a public institution and we typically got the quarantine requirements are driven by Illinois Department of Public Health. So right now I think the answer is it's not going to be required, but we're just going to continue encouraging it.
To kind of jump off that, since there are new students coming in, how exactly will UIC handle all those new students in terms of giving out the vaccine? Will it just continue on as it is right now in the couple locations that it's at right now?
So right, as you know, every current student and staff member is eligible to get the vaccine through UI Health, and well, effective April 12th for the students and over age 16. So, and that's either at the Credit Union One Arena or the hospital, but through your own healthcare provider, you can also get it through your healthcare provider or possibly, Walgreens or CVS and things like that. So, our location is not the only place to get it. So it's going to be available for anyone through whatever means you have available.
All right. Well, thank you, committees, for all of your questions. So now we will open it up to the body, and we'll give you between 5 and 7 minutes for your questions. So if anybody have any questions, feel free to ask.
I had 2 super quick questions. I wanted to quickly just go back to what you mentioned earlier. Like, if you could help me understand that, just flesh it out a little bit more, Vice Chancellor. You said that because UIC is a public institution that we're not able to mandate vaccinations on campus, but from my understanding, so is Rutgers, right? I mean, Rutgers is the University of New Jersey system. My other 2 questions also, though, specifically, I was wondering if you could just tell us a little bit more about how UIC is working to sanitize and ensure safe transportation, especially with CTA and other organizations like that. And then last question, if there were any sort of changes for the way that the dining halls are run. Sorry, that was 3 in 1.
All right, so you'll need to help me remember them all. So first off, my understanding is Illinois Department of Public Health governs the vaccination requirements for higher ed institutions. I'm not sure what New Jersey does and why Rutgers was able to do that. So I can only speak for what I know about Illinois. And so that's my understanding of where we are today, at least. I'm not sure if the lawyers are trying to work something out that would allow a public institution to mandate it outside of the Illinois Department of Public Health, but I'm not quite sure on that. Your second question was public transportation. We at the high levels, we've been engaged with CTA and Metra, and we've been successful in trying to get some extra bus service along some of the high traffic routes, recognizing that there would be less density on the buses. And both CTA and Metra do have really good sanitization standards in place. They similar to what we do. They do the electrostatic spraying on a nightly basis, and the hospital grade disinfectant that they use is supposed to kill viruses for up to 7 days, which is what we use the same one. So I'm pretty sure that their cleaning and sanitization programs are pretty good. And then again, there's the masking requirement and distancing, and of course we encourage hand hygiene as well. And you're always, if the bus is too crowded or train is too crowded, I think, wait for the next one, if you're so uncomfortable. And we hope that with the vaccines that some of this fear will be lessened, especially as we learn more about what can be transmitted or how well the vaccine works with these variants and things like that. And then your third question was?
This is about capacity in the dining halls. I mean, we've heard stories of students who have been turned away at the dining halls because we're at capacity or might not be able access to takeout options and such.
Sorry, okay, I can't answer that question. I'm not familiar enough with the dining hall operations. I do know that the people who work at the dining halls are in our saliva test program, and so they're being monitored as well. And so we're trying to make everyone as safe as possible.
Thank you. I saw that Daniela had her hand raised. Daniela, did you have a question?
Yes, I had a quick question. For the, I'm missing the word right now. So for the tents, for the tents that are going to be put on campus or that are planning to be put on campus, my understanding is there has to be an RSVP kind of form to reserve for your tent. My question would be, is there any employment opportunity here for students, or would this be able to be managed by student workers?
So that's a great question, Daniela. I think there's going to be lots of great opportunities for student employment. One of the things that we're kicking around is this idea of student ambassadors. If you've heard about Urbana, especially with the badging process, where they've hired a bunch of student employees and asked them to, not only promote, and make sure that people are wearing their mask and are distancing and hygiene, and to promote those COVID safety measures, but also to check badges for people to make sure they're compliant with their saliva test program. And so we're kind of having discussions and thinking about, you know, what opportunities there might be for students to help other students stay safe.
I just wanted to say something else. I definitely think that is a great idea, especially just because when a law or a regulation or anything is enforced by students, I think students would definitely receive this better than if it's by someone older or someone with like police enforcement in that way. So I definitely would encourage everyone to just kind of like really consider student employment here. Thank you.
Great.
And thank you for
that.
presenting too.
Yeah, thank you for that.
All right, Kayla?
Yeah, just a quick question regarding vaccinations. Sorry, my allergies are really bad. Will students who are fully vaccinated, will they have to get tested weekly, or would they have like a certain I'm not on campus at all this semester, so I don't know how that works completely, but will they have like a different badge on their, I think it's on your iCard.
Right, so that's a really good question, Kayla. So right now, there is no difference right now because we don't know enough. We're saying that everyone, regardless of their vaccination status, is still going to be required to do the saliva testing. Whether or not that changes unknown. My guess is it likely will not change because we may not have a means of knowing who's been vaccinated and who has not been vaccinated. So we're not going to create any vaccine passports of our own. And unless there's a government requirement for one, I imagine we won't know if someone's vaccinated because it's kind of a privacy issue.
All right. So Wasan and I decided that we want to extend time for questions for 5 more minutes, just because we see that there's a lot of questions. So if you guys have any additional questions, please raise your hand. And in the meantime, I also have a question. My question is about mixed instruction. So I know a lot of us will have mixed instruction classes. So can you maybe explain what that means, whether or not students will be able to choose if they want to be in person or online, or how does that work?
I'm sorry, Daisy, I'm not quite sure what you mean by mixed instruction.
Well, so on my classes, it says that the type of instruction will be mixed instruction. And I was also wondering what that means.
Oh, got it. Okay, so I think that's a combination of in-person and remote. So,
Okay.
and the course syllabus or will describe which ones are going to be in person and which will be remote. And I imagine, similar to other classes, you know, there might be some opportunity to self-select if you want, you know, to primarily do it remote.
Okay, thank you. Kayla?
This is kind of a follow-up to my last question, and I don't know if there will be a viable answer. But I think in terms of like having students come in person and stuff, and just like maybe not encouraging students to come, but to feel more comfortable coming in person, if there can be a way for students to have like some sort of badge for vaccination. I know that would also make professors feel a lot more comfortable teaching in person. I got mine through UIC, so I know it's probably connected somehow. I know this might not be possible or viable, and you might not know the answer either, but that might help. Like, I know I would feel more comfortable if, you know, I knew that like at least half of the students in my class had the vaccination, or again, like I know a lot of professors I have would feel more comfortable knowing like majority of their students got the vaccination. So yeah.
Right. Great. That's a great observation. I think we all agree with that. The challenge is that I think with, you know, anyone who gets it through UI Health can get an estimate of how many who have gotten the vaccination through their system. But we can't see who's been vaccinated through the community, through other community efforts. I have seen some other institutions where they've encouraged people to wear the I got vaccinated button, but that's more voluntary stuff, not a requirement. So I'm not quite sure exactly, you know, what we can require, if we can require anything to show that you've been vaccinated.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I actually had one more question. Is there going to be a safety task force? And if so, can students be a part of that? Or is there any like liaison between students and the administration there?
So what kind of safety task force are you talking about?
So like a COVID safety task force. So one exists, obviously. But is there any chance for students to have a voice in that arena there?
I know the provost had a fairly large group. I'm not quite sure if students were part of that. I had my own safety task force that was built about making the spaces safe. And that is pretty much dissolved into just a group of 4 where we consult with the Dr. Bleasdale and the other infectious disease experts when we get questions. And so it's not a standing committee per se, because we have a good understanding of what we need to do now since and we just changed with whatever changes with COVID. But if there is one, I think if there's some major change or maybe if there's a need to do more, there might be a call. So I think if USG, requests something like that or be more specific as to what you're looking for, that might be something we can do.
Okay, I think we'll look into that and we'll probably get back to you.
Sure. And even if it's just to get informal meetings in here and express your concerns, I'm happy to meet with you and my environmental health safety team or others can meet too.
Yeah, I think a lot of us would really enjoy that.
Sure.
All right, well, that's all the time we had for questions. Thank you so much for coming and for talking to us. It would be great if you could leave maybe some sort of contact information in the chat so that our members can reach out if they have any additional questions.
Sure, I'll do that. Thank you. And we are planning, like I said, to open a campus town hall. I believe the week of the 19th is what we're targeting. And I expect that there'll be some sort of announcement later this week to that effect. But I'll put my contact information in the chat. Thank you very much.
Right.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Answer questions.
Okay. All right, let's see. So our next order of business is old business. So first, we will start with Resolution 2021-S9-902. So Matthew and I revisited some things. So I would like to motion to change the resolution and instead of the one from last week, use the one that I will be presenting this week. So all those in favor of that change, please say aye.
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 All that opposed, please say nay. Does anybody abstain? Okay, the ayes have it. And we'll be using the new version of the resolution. So let me share my screen. You guys see that? Okay. So we will not be reading the resolution because it's going to take a lot of time, but I can tell you what we changed. So one of the things I changed is this was posted twice. So I deleted the one that was over here because it's the same thing. And the second thing was that Matthew wanted to add this, which says, if the executive board denies the strike, the executive board member who called for the strike may appeal to the House of Representatives. This appeal would need a 2/3 vote to approve the strike. And this is all the changes. So this will be voted on today. So let's talk about it. Does anybody have any comments, questions, or concerns? Arthur?
Yes, and everybody can hear me, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I guess I just kind of have like a couple questions for some questions for the chief sponsors. So when reading the resolution, right, I was kind of curious if this amendment, right, would actually make things a little bit more smoother or efficient. And I do see the logic behind it, a chain of command and all that. However, I feel like this could also cause a role conflict for the president, chief of staff, vice president, and speaker. So like when reading like the bylaws, for instance, I feel like each position's duties are very clear, and I feel like it's very important to keep their assigned duties defined and clear. I feel like there could be a danger in having some kind of overlap in responsibilities and powers, because it essentially might cause a role conflict. I feel like also that the amount of authority that the president, vice president, and speaker will have, but with this new strike policy, will be too similar to that of a chief of staff. The chief of staff, his main duty, his or her main duty, is to be the whip, essentially. Like he or she will know best what each position is doing, how well they're doing it. So I think if you were to extend that to the president, vice president, or the speaker, it might distract them per se. And I am a little bit more lenient towards the president, but I'm a bit confused of why should the vice president and the speaker have the same amount of like strike capabilities as a chief of staff? Should not the president, the VP, or the speaker first be required to consult the chief of staff before issuing a strike?
Okay, so I can answer that question. So the reason why we decided to kind of, make sure that everybody, that all those people have access to giving a strike is because of what happened last semester, which, you weren't here, so you don't, you might not know about it, but we had a chief of staff who was not doing any of the, and, the chief of staff is responsible for giving a strike, but the chief of staff would not strike themselves. Does that, if that, does that make sense? And also the
It
reason
makes sense.
we don't want just a chief of staff and potentially, as you said, just the president to be able to call for a strike is because we want to make sure that we have the system of checks and balances. We want to make sure that if the president and chief of staff are, for example, really good friends, and they don't want to strike each other over USG, then how are those people going to be able to like do the checks and balances? Does that make sense? So that's why we
No,
kind of
no.
figured out on here. I can show you right here. It says the chief of staff is the primary officer. So the chief of staff would still be the primary person responsible for it, but in case they aren't, is the reason why we are giving the other officers that option. And then I see that Daniela has a hand raised. So Daniela, would you like to say anything?
Yes, I had a quick comment, which might be like a suggestion following Arthur's comment. Do the body, like the representatives, have the power to make a strike towards the executive board? Sorry, because if not, I think that this is something that could be kind of like the middle ground. I think if there is kind of like a majority in members, then that could lead to a strike to executive board member that could hold all the executive members accountable.
So yeah. So I think the power of the strike should not necessarily be given to the representatives, just because like for the chief of staff, it's their primary responsibility to strike an e-board, but that's because they meet with these the executive board like bi-weekly. Like for me, I meet with the officers bi-weekly. I make sure that everyone's doing their job. But I think maybe a representative may not have that same knowledge. Of course, I think if a representative does feel like an e-board member should be striked, they can talk to the chief of staff, or like first to the chief of staff. Then if the chief of staff is not willing, I believe then they can maybe talk to a different officer.
Thank you. Arthur, I see you have your hand raised. Is that from last time or?
That was from last minute, but I just would like to add on, if I may.
Go for it.
Okay. I do see your point, Daisy, with everything you said. I just also think that, like in the future, for whoever will next become speaker, vice president, or VP, like I still think that there is still a possibility for like a role conflict, which is why I think maybe if the language was a little bit more like precise with the amount of authority a VP, president, or speaker can have in issuing a strike should be added. Like
So
there
what do
should be
you mean,
kind of
like?
there should
Oh,
be
sorry,
kind
go
of
ahead.
like a stage or another, like at least a smaller barrier in front of them, because I do think it does take away a bit of the responsibility and powers away from the chief of staff.
Not necessarily, just because, as I said, chief of staff is the primary officer, and I don't think there will be a conflict of who's gonna call for the strike. If there's a conflict like that, then the chief of staff is the primary officer. If the chief of staff doesn't do that, then it'll be the job of all those other people listed on here to figure it out. And I would actually much rather have that wondering who's going to call for the strike rather than have just the president and chief of staff and then neither of them want to call for a strike on each other and then there is no checks and balances. I see that Misty has her hand raised.
Yeah, I was just gonna say a comment. Like, I get what Arthur's saying because of the how it can become a mess in terms of the strikes, but like Daisy's saying, I guess in terms of like keeping that checks and balances, everyone has to kind of like hold each other accountable, and I don't think necessarily it will cause too much conflict, just because at the end of the day, they have to, as it says right there, they have to confirm or deny it by 3/4 of a vote by executive board members. So if others don't agree, then they can vote it off. And if they do agree, then it's just confirmed.
Dahlia?
Sure. I did just kind of want to quickly reiterate what Misty and Daisy have said. I was kind of included within the process a little bit and asked a couple questions when this was being made. And I think my 2 cents to this is that sometimes it's a lot of power for one person to hold, for only one person to be able to administer strikes. And so I think when it feels like a chief of staff is unable to fulfill their positions, or it feels like there is a conflict of interest, there needs to be an intervention. And there basically in our bylaws, there was no room for intervention. So frankly, this could just not be acted on. Like the chief of staff could continue doing their role and striking people and deciding on who is striking who at any given moment. And the process would continue as it has before. I think this just includes wording and includes the possibility that this is, I guess, a worst case scenario possibility. And I think this change in the bylaws reflects that. And so having that secondary persons that's able to say, hey, this person isn't doing their job. Let me bring it up to the advisor. Let me bring it up to somebody. Let's see if we can administer a strike. I did kind of want to talk directly to Arthur very quickly and say, if you would, is it a wording issue or is it an issue of who you feel is responsible for these things?
Essentially, yeah, I guess you could say it's an issue of who is responsible for these things. Because I do think there should be like a chain of command for like a hierarchy of like who has like authority essentially. And also, I just would want to make sure that there aren't any redundancies. Nobody's looking to the other person to issue the strike, hence causing inefficiency within the executive branch.
Daisy, would I be able to respond to that? Okay, so I think that this wouldn't necessarily cause, and you can disagree or you can agree, but I don't think that this is something that would cause a discrepancy or cause a negative flow between the e-board and chief of staff. I think the chief of staff within Matthew's role specifically now, for example, he's connected to every single part of the e-board. He's constantly talking to them. He's talking to members if they feel uncomfortable with a member of e-board. He is reaching out to the president. He's reaching out to the vice president. He's even speaking one-on-one with the advisors. Matthew is kind of a singular connection to all these like spires. And so Matthew is the primary person that's going to see an issue if it arises. So for that reason, Matthew will still be one of the people that is going to clock it and be able to act upon it. However, this doesn't necessarily, this change wouldn't change that at all. I think that this change would show, again, as I said previously, that there is a potential for an issue to arise with the chief of staff, and it allows us to be able to fix that.
I can also comment. So I know you said that you think it would be better if there was a hierarchy. So for example, first person to strike would be, or first person to have the ability to strike would be the chief of staff. And if they don't, it would be somebody else. And I know you said that you wanted the hierarchy. The reason why that is concerning to me is because, as I mentioned, if, for example, the chief of staff and the president, if the president was the first person in the hierarchy, if they were good friends and they didn't want to call for a strike, then the person who is after the president in the hierarchy would not be able to call for a strike necessarily, unless the president does. And then if the president doesn't want to, then that, do you know what I mean? It's just kind of like there is no checks and balances if that's the case. So that's why I think that the system that we kind of are proposing here is better. Everybody that we have, which is let's see, the president, vice president, speaker, or chief of staff, all of them would be right if they deem that necessary, and that would create a more just system of checks and balances. Kayla?
Yeah, I just want to emphasize this strike, as it says in the resolution. It's not like if a speaker or vice president calls for a strike, then it's going to happen. Like, they still need 3/4 confirmation, which is a significant number of just the e-board, and I had one more point. And if we're talking about checks and balances, like in actual government, it's not just one person that's checking the other, it's two other people that are checking one. So technically, if we're talking about checks and balances, we would need a total of like at least 3 people that check each other, and not just one, and it's just them working together, so.
Yeah, and like Danny was saying earlier, right? In terms of representing the legislative body, like the speaker does that, like that's their role, and so you have a nice balance between both executive people who have this power as well as legislative people who do. But since we cleared that up, I'm going to take a second to move the previous question and debate on this, and just head over to voting.
All right. So there has been a motion to move on to voting. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded to move to voting. All those in favor of passing resolution 2021-S9-902, please say aye.
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 All that opposed, please say nay. Does anybody abstain? Okay, the ayes have it, and this resolution has passed. And I'm gonna stop sharing. Thank you everybody for this discussion. Let's see. So next we have resolution 2021-S9-806. So Anshu, would you like to just quickly summarize?
Yeah, I can do that. So basically this resolution is for the Red Shoes Review merchandise funding, and they're asking for 30 hoodies, and we're going to be putting $21 for each of the hoodies, totaling in $630.
Okay. So are there any comments or questions or amendments to this resolution before we move on to voting? Okay, so we can move on to voting. All those in favor of resolution 2021-S9-806, please say aye.
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 All that opposed, please say nay. Sorry. Does anybody abstain? Okay, the ayes have it, and this resolution has passed. Next, we have Resolution 2021-S9-405. So, Aitana, would you like to very quickly summarize this resolution?
Yes, it's purchasing Canva Pro for 2 people.
Awesome. Thank you. Any comments, questions, or amendments to this resolution? Okay, so we can move on to voting. All those in favor of Resolution 2021-S9-405, please say aye.
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 All that opposed, please say nay. Does anybody abstain? Okay, the ayes have it. This resolution has passed. Next, we have Resolution 2021-S9-603. So, Bayan, would you like to very quickly summarize this?
Yeah, this is just a resolution to stand in solidarity with the AAPI community and show support for the ARC at UIC.
Thank you. So, any comments, questions, or concerns regarding this resolution?
Just a quick question. Do you want to amend to also include the letter, the APITA letter?
Oh, has
as
it been?
part of this? Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Do you have the link?
Yeah, I'll stop screen sharing and I'll put that in the chat. This is the link, but it's not letting me click it because I've already filled this out.
Okay. Okay.
So would you like me to, if you were to motion, would you like me to add the link or just add the entire document after the resolution?
Yeah, could you just add the, I don't know, what should
I
we-
would like to motion to just add the link to
Okay.
the bottom of the resolution.
Can you remind me the title of the resolution? Was it 603?
Yes, it was S9603.
Yes, okay. So where would you like me to add that exactly?
Just in the bottom where it says, let it be further resolved, USG condemns anti-Asian acts of violence and discrimination and stands in solidarity with the AAPI community and supports student advocates in presenting their demands in the APITA letter to higher administration. I'd like to add the following text. USG signs on to the APITA letter, which can be found here, and then the link.
Okay. All right, so there has been a motion to add the text USG signs on to the APITA letter, which can be found here, and then link inserted. All those in favor of adding this, please say aye.
Aye.
All that opposed, please say nay. Does anybody abstain? Okay, I have it added. Any other comments, questions, concerns, anything?
Yeah, could you, Watson, just link the letter? Because this is just the sign up link.
Sorry about that. Let me try to find that.
Or is it a different link?
I believe so. I can't. Let me check. real quick. Yeah, this is just the signing link.
Sarah?
Yes, I had a question. It says in the document that the first reading is on March 29th and the second reading is April 12th. Is that correct, or are we voting on this tonight?
We are voting.
So actually, I think it was supposed to be changed. It looks like I did not get to change it. But this was motioned and voted on last week, so I'm going to change it right now. Really sorry about the mistake. I'm fixing it right now. And then maybe for the next one, I'm not sure if I fixed that one either. Oh yeah, that one I fixed. Okay. Sorry about that. Thank you for pointing it out.
Yeah, I'm sharing the letter on my screen, I think.
Wasan, if you'd like, you can send me the PDF or the Word doc, and I can just attach it at the end of the resolution.
I'll do that. Yeah,
instead.
thank you.
Okay. All right. So in that case, would you like me to remove the link that I already put?
No, it's fine. Just leave that there as well so people can sign if they want to.
Okay, awesome. And then I'm just gonna, okay. I would like to motion to add the letter at the end of this resolution. All those in favor of this motion, please say aye.
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 All that opposed, please say nay. Anybody abstain? Okay, ayes have it. So whenever you can, send it to me and I'll add it. Any other comments or questions regarding this resolution before we vote on it?
I have a point of inquiry. Just, are we invited to sign as individuals? To endorse as individuals?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool, great.
I was just gonna actually make like this announcement that you're welcome to sign on it as an individual too.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions, amendments, concerns, anything? Okay, if not, then we can move on to voting. So all those in favor of passing resolution 2021-S9-603, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All that opposed, please say nay. Does anybody abstain? Okay, the ayes have it. Resolution 2021-S9-603 has passed. Next, we have resolution 2021-S9-604. So, Bayan, would you like to quickly summarize it?
Yeah, this is to allow members who are observing the month of Ramadan to leave the meeting early. But I have a quick question. Are we having a meeting on May 3rd? No. Okay, so can I motion to remove that from the resolution?
Yes, just give me 1 second to open it. So there has been a motion to remove Monday, May 3rd at 7:53 p.m. and from this resolution. So all those, or sorry, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, has been moved and seconded. All those in favor of removing Monday, May 3rd from this resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
All that opposed, please say nay. Does anybody abstain? Okay, the ayes have it. So Monday, May 3rd has been removed from this resolution.
And I just want to make a quick reminder for anyone who follows a different mosque to just email Daisy about their timing. And Daniela.
Thank you. Sarah?
I don't know if this will help Bayan. So in the resolution, it says Monday, April 26th and May 3rd. I don't think we're also meeting on the 26th, but I don't know if there's a motion needed for that. I don't want to be too tedious with it, but just wanted to say that.
Are we not meeting on the 26th?
I don't think so.
I don't think we are.
Oh, like the final is April 19th? Okay.
So,
Yeah,
but
and then a week
Wasan
for
can-
finals, and then actual finals, and then people graduate. and
Oh,
such.
why am I trying to stay in school for so long? Okay, yeah, so I motion to remove Monday, April 26th. Thank you, Sarah.
All right, there has been a motion to remove Monday, April 26th. Is there a second?
I second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor of removing Monday, April 26th, please say aye.
Aye.
All that opposed, please say nay. Does anybody abstain? Okay, ayes have it, and this has been removed. Any other comments or questions before we move on to voting? Okay, so we can move on to voting. All those in favor of passing resolution 2021-S9-604, please say aye.
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 All that opposed, please say nay. Anybody abstain? Okay, the ayes have it, and this resolution has passed. So the next order of business is new business. First, we have resolution 2021-S10-1106. So Wasan, if you'd like to present it.
Point of information, I think you skipped the resolution.
Oh, which
Was
one?
it not added to the packet?
I think that's...
It was USG against Islamophobia.
We read it last week as well.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, which one was it?
It would be 605.
I thought we voted on this last week, no?
No.
I think that's what it said in the in the minutes. Let me just double check. Oh, okay. All right. I apologize.
That's
Let me
fine.
just pull it up real quick.
I have it on my screen too.
Okay, go for it. Are there any, or Bayan, would you like to quickly summarize this?
Yeah, so this is in response to SJP's campaign against Islamophobic comments made by speakers from SPH program visiting scholars, and we do have guest speakers to elaborate and discuss the events that have happened and the meetings they have had with SPH. So if you could allow Muna to screen share.
Okay, just 1 second. Sorry. Okay. Hi all, my name is Mona, and I am, okay, sorry. Hi all, my name is Mona. I'm an organizer with Students for Justice in Palestine, and I just want to give you guys a brief timeline on SJP's campaign against Islamophobia and Zionism in the School of Public Health. So our campaign begins in February 1st. We found out that the UIC Global Health Student Interest Group was hosting this event in collaboration with SPH's Visiting Scholars Program, which is a program centered around bringing primarily Israeli speakers to SPH. And this program is funded by the Jewish Federation of Metropolitan Chicago, which is a subset of the Jewish United Fund. It's a conservative philanthropic group that has documented proof of funding Islamophobic, anti-Arab, homophobic, and transphobic programming. And this isn't the first time that SPH has brought these speakers. Our campaign originally started in 2018, but this was super concerning to us and we took action swiftly. Our first call to action was to create an email template to send to the student organizers and SPH administration. At least 100 people joined in to voice their concerns and demand the cancellation. And it was a success. The student organization canceled the event, which was promising, but the School of Public Health decided to move forward in hosting it anyway. And while we were, having our call to action for people to email, we also created the solidarity letter that's also in the resolution, a solidarity letter to sign against the UIC School of Public Health Israeli Visiting Scholars Program. Up to date, we have 12 UIC organizations signed, 15 community organizations signed, and nearly 250 individuals signed. And we published this publicly, and we also sent it to the SPH administration. As a result, we met with admin on February 12th to explain our 5 demands: the termination of ties between SPH and Israeli academic institutions, the termination of speakers from these institutions, the incorporation of Palestinian perspective in their curriculum, the creation of an SPH-hosted series highlighting Palestinian experience in public health, and the creation of a student leaders committee. Out of our meeting, SPH administration were most responsive to the fact that JUF has, proven funding for Islamophobic and hateful groups. And they said that they would look into their funding, but that they would not cancel the event, and encouraged us to go to the event. And so this is exactly what we did. On March 3rd was the Israeli Visiting Scholars event. And within 5 minutes of the event, the chat was disabled to only send messages to the panelists. And a few minutes later, the chat was disabled altogether. it was very clear that there was to be no communication or conversation or dialogue within the event, just a very one-sided narrative. The only way to communicate was to use the Q&A function because it was a webinar. And so students submitted questions, and students that submitted questions about Palestine in the function were immediately removed from the session. And I really want to emphasize this because it wasn't just members of Students for Justice in Palestine. It was, other students from the School of Public Health and other allied students that attended the session who asked a question about Palestine and was immediately rescinded and their registration canceled, even though SPH asked us to attend this event and ask questions. And this is really concerning because this is a straight censorship of our free speech, not only on UIC's policy on open expression, but also on the First Amendment protected by the federal Constitution. And as a result, we wrote a statement talking about the censorship and our concerns on students being censored to talk about Palestine. And we also sent this to the admin. On March 18th, we met with administration again for the second time. In this meeting, we asked them why we were removed from the event, who made that decision to remove us, and what they were going to do about it. They couldn't tell us why we were removed or who made that decision. And they said that they were internally investigating the incident. But when we asked them specifically what they were doing in their investigation, they couldn't give us an answer. Also in this event, we demanded that they cancel the same speaker's presentation, the second presentation for the speaker that was scheduled on March 29th, even after everything that had happened in his presentation of being very exclusive on talking about Palestine, in the censorship of students that attended, but still UIC admin refused to cancel the event. And so this kind of leaves us where we are now. We're internally building foundation and structure, and also reaching out to different offices in terms of what to do with, university censorship. But yeah, that's where we are now in our campaign.
All right, thank you so much. We'll have maybe a few minutes for questions. Does anybody have any questions?
Actually, a couple of our members are going to say a couple of things as well.
Are you guys from the same organization or
Yeah,
different?
I'm also from SJP. Nizar is going to speak right now.
Oh, well, we only had about 5 minutes for the group. If you'd like, you can take maybe another minute or so.
Yeah, we'll just be a couple more minutes.
Just 1 minute. I'll record it right now. Thank you.
Just summarize, Layla, maybe.
Yeah, so basically I just wanted to talk about how JUF is a group that supports Islamophobic, anti-Arab, anti-Muslim, anti-LGBT groups. As Mona said, there's document proof of this. So that's basically like what I want to say, and this really just goes against the School of Public Health ideas that we strive to create a sustained and inclusive and respectful atmosphere and support the exchange of free ideas and individual differences. And then we just wanted to say one more thing too.
Hi, my name is Salam. I'm also with SJP. We also just wanted to emphasize that there are over 5,000 Muslims on the UIC campus, and majority, and UIC also has one of the largest Arab populations, although we can't provide any numbers because Arabs are categorized under the white racial demographics. However, we want to emphasize even more that by continuing these ties and bringing in speakers that support these views, it continuously puts Muslims in an unsafe situation, and we want to continue to provide a safe and comfortable surroundings for these Muslims and Arabs on our campus. Furthermore, UIC is one of the top 5 most diverse campuses in this country, and we believe that their actions should be representative of that, and therefore our demands call for these ties to be cut so that our students can feel safe and comfortable, and that that we can incorporate more of the Palestinian, Muslim, and Arab voices on our campus and bring awareness to the human rights violations that have been occurring in these occupied territories. So with the presented evidence and facts from myself as well as Mona and Leila, we urge that USG can stand in solidarity with our Arab and Muslim students by signing this resolution.
All right, thank you so much. Due to the sake of time, we'll have time only for one question. Does anybody have any questions for the speakers? Okay, if no questions, then thank you so much for your time. You guys are welcome to either stay for the rest of the meeting or leave, whichever one you prefer. And if you could please leave any contact information in the chat so our members could contact you if they have any questions. And yeah, thank you so much. Okay, so Resolution 2021-S9-605. Ben, would you like to quickly summarize?
Yeah, I thought I already summarized it. Well, okay. This is the resolution against Islamophobic comments made by speakers from Visiting Scholars Program hosted by SPH UIC.
All right, thank you. So we'll be voting on this tonight, but before we do that, are there any comments, questions, concerns, amendments?
Yeah, I have a comment. I lived in Palestine for 5 years, so I did high school there, and I didn't know that UIC was like doing like the School of Public Health was doing this type of action, because if I did, I feel like I would have chosen differently with the school. Like I would have chosen a different school, because I feel like just the trauma that you get from living in an occupation is a lot, and then to come to a school that doesn't realize that or pushes your concerns away when you come to another country for a better life, I think that just makes everyone, like I feel like that makes like the people who look like me and who've been through the same thing like me, I feel like that makes them excluded. And like they said, there are a lot of Arab people at UIC, there are a lot of Palestinians, and we do represent a huge chunk of the population. And I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah?
Yeah, I just had a comment. I just wanted to reiterate that, like, just because somebody is pro-Palestine does not make them anti-Semitic, which is something that a lot of people get confused with. A lot of people from Palestine, a lot of Muslims in general, really respect the Jewish religion, and it has nothing to do with Jews individually. It has everything to do with Israel. So I just want to make sure that I don't want anyone to feel offended. If you're pro-Palestine, that does not make you anti-Semitic.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions before we move on to voting? Okay. All right. So we'll be voting on this resolution. So all those in favor of voting for Resolution 2021-S9-605, please say aye.
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 Aye. All that opposed, please say nay. Does anybody abstain? Okay, the resolution has passed. Thank you, everybody. So now we can move to the next order of business, which is new business. And first we have Resolution 2021-S10-1106. So Hassan, if you'd like to very quickly present it.
Yeah, thanks, Daisy. So Resolution S10-1106 is our USG's emergency housing program. And I'll just read it really quickly. Essentially, like the undergraduate student government is the official voice of over 20,000 students at the University of Illinois Chicago. We seek to support students in all aspects of student life, including where and how students are housed. And whereas the number of homeless students in Chicago is staggering, Illinois has 2,300 homeless college students and 12% of City Colleges of Chicago students are housing insecure. While official USC statistics for student homelessness are not calculated, the December 2020 student survey of 1,500 USC students found approximately 2% of those students were housing insecure. Reports from UNI Care indicate annually around 30 students reach out for housing support. Earlier this semester, USG successfully lobbied USC PD to halt evictions on students living in cars, a small stopgap measure. Current housing support measures depend upon availability of campus housing. Providing student government funding will ensure guaranteed space for up to 10 students, undergrad and grad, over a period of 2 years, alongside support from social work students. And whereas a special thanks to Wellness Center Director Carol Peterson, Advisor Dre Parker, and Keith Ellis, Vice Chancellor Rick Tolliver, Grad Student Council Secretary Christine Barber, DOS and UI Care staff, Dina Nat Wright and Cynthia Rosales, and Jane Addams College of Social Work Professor Barbara Coates for their help on this project. Then let it be resolved that the USG will adopt the following proposal in Appendix A to support emergency housing at UIC. USG will allocate up to $50,000 in funding to student affairs and the UNI Care team. After a period of 1.5 years, the 2022 to 2023 USG president shall conduct a 2-year review on this program to determine if another 2-year lease should be renewed. This review shall consist of members of the undergraduate student government, graduate student council, and dean of students office. And I'll just kind of go over this today, and then we'll get another chance to talk about it next week. But essentially what we're doing is we're purchasing 5 housing units on East Campus at MRH, and we're looking to purchase 5 housing units on the West Campus at PSR at approximately $360,000 on a 2-year contract. This says 1 year, but it should say 2. And we're funding this from USG. The Graduate Student Council is also funding this. They actually just presented with them on Thursday. They're spending $50,000 of their own funds towards this. And then Vice Chancellor Tolliver and Student Affairs has agreed to fund the rest of this program. And what we're looking to do again is to have these housing spaces available for students who need them on a sort of like temporary lease period, right? Given for free. If you are experiencing homelessness temporarily, you will be able to access this through, of course, the existing UNI Care team, as well as this graduate assistant who we're looking to hire to both act as a care manager as well as a sort of point of contact for students who are experiencing homelessness. I'm happy to answer any other questions or help in any other way, really.
Yeah, I had a question. So
Yeah, go for it.
in the let it be resolved portion, it says that USG will allocate up to $50,000. Do we
Yeah.
know by what time we'll know the exact number, or is it just going to be 50,000?
The reason that I wrote up to is just given the amount of sort of RFFs that are coming in right around now, I want to make sure that I'm not over-promising something. And so I checked out your report, and it looks like we're sitting at around 56, 57,000, and it looks like we're never going to go below 50 just based on the RFFs we have currently, even the active resolutions we have currently. So I think it's still possible to do something like this and give all 50 over to this project.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just a quick question. So
Yeah.
would this be effective immediately next week?
One more time, sorry.
Will this be effective immediately next week?
Yes, so starting next fall, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other comments, questions, or concerns? This will be voted on next week, so we can talk about it more then. Or actually, is it next week or is it this week, Wasan?
I'm so sorry, yeah, it's next week. My
Okay,
bad.
because I see the second reading
Yeah.
of voting said this today.
My bad, my bad.
Okay. Any comments, questions, or concerns before we move on? Okay. All right. So next we have resolution 2021-S10-807. So Ashley, if you could very quickly present it.
Yeah, so whereas the undergraduate student government has funds allocated for external organizations such as clubs in the External Org Fund, and whereas the Pre-Law Society currently has no way to recognize members who have become Pre-Law Society fellows and a way to legitimize members' participation in the organization, and whereas certificates and graduation cords which show proof of continued participation in the organization and help bolster law school applications, and whereas USG's logo will act as a seal of approval on the certificate, further showing USG's presence and continued support of UIC student organizations on campus. Then let it be resolved that USG will spend $300 on graduation cords and $70 for certificates totaling $370, including shipping on behalf of Pre-Law Society.
Awesome, thank you. I open up the floor for discussion. Any comments, questions, or concerns about this resolution? Anything? Okay, all right, this will be voted on next week. So if you guys have anything, we can come back to it next week. Next, we have resolution 2021-S10-302. So Tega, would you like to very quickly present this? You can summarize if you'd like.
Arthur's going to do the summary.
Okay, go ahead.
You want me to summarize this?
If you think summarizing is sufficient, then you're welcome to do that.
This is essentially an extension then of our Get Vaccinated campaign. So we already have the posters. We just need to hang those up still. But this here, we're asking for stickers. Sorry about that. But let me find the exact paragraph. But whereas the Get Vaccinated campaign stickers will serve as a tool not only to thank students for getting vaccinated and making in-person learning safer, it also encourage other students to also get vaccinated, thus improving the safety of in-person learning. And we believe that this matches the undergraduate student government's goal of ensuring a safe but efficient learning environment for all students. So then let it further be resolved that the undergraduate student government of the University of Illinois at Chicago will provide the Student Affairs Committee with the disbursement of $207.40 for the printing of 2 sticker designs at the market value of 95 cents per sticker. So $182.40 plus $25 express shipping from Canva. And of course, Canva, they'll plant trees for every print made. So above those were the sticker designs, and these 2 here are the pamphlet designs, but USG will not be paying for those. Me and Tega already have those covered, so no funds necessary for those 2 things. But above that are the sticker designs, if you'd like to show it.
Okay. Thank you. I'd like to open up the floor for discussion. Any comments, questions, or concerns about this resolution? I see a question in the chat. Will the students that already got the vaccine before this resolution passes, would they get this, or would they get the sticker?
I mean, if they want to go to the credit union one to go pick up the sticker, they're more than welcome to. But we wouldn't necessarily go out and say, come get a sticker, but they're always welcome to come pick up a sticker.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions, or concerns?
Just for me, I was going to use an executive order to move up voting on this, just so everybody knows. And also, I wanted to make sure that it was in line with the other COVID materials that Student Affairs Committee is already putting out.
Okay. Any comments or questions before we move on to voting?
Yeah, I had a question. So I saw that the second sticker said paid for by student government, and I was wondering why the first one didn't say that.
So it's got a QR code that says courtesy of the kind of links to the USG website. So we're just trying to change it up a little bit, and people are more likely to scan QR codes anyway.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay. All right, Wasan?
Yeah, these are super cool. And also shout out to both of you for making sure that all the right people are also aware of this. So I would like to use an executive order to move to vote on resolution 2021-F10-302 is voted on tonight.
Okay, so the president has moved to make this resolution an executive order. So we'll be voting on it today. All those in favor of adopting resolution 2021-S10-302, please say aye.
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 All that opposed, please say nay. Does anybody abstain? Okay, the ayes have it, and this resolution has passed. Next, we have resolution 2021-S10-100. And Daniela, would you like to either quickly present it or summarize it?
Yes, I can quickly summarize it. This is just basically saying that we're gonna do time capsule just to commemorate that 2020 and 2021 were challenging years, and that the undergraduate student government successfully adapted to challenges presented, and that we worked in a lot of like really cool things. So the time capsule is just a way to commemorate all of this, and it's just basically asking for is allocating up to $330. It's actually around 310 specifically with all of the items that are listed below this resolution, but I am saying up to 330 just to ensure that if we need anything else, just like taking into account like taxes and all of that stuff. And if you could please scroll down just to show everyone what's being bought. We have a time capsule container. Apart from these, we have envelopes. So this is where every single member would put their stuff there and all of that. We also have Sharpies because the envelopes have to be named. And then again, all the Sharpies or everything that is left would be stored in the USG office. And we have 2 flash drives just to make sure that everything that is put in the time capsule not only has like paper copy, but it also has a digital copy. How this is gonna work is basically we're gonna have 2 sections of the time capsule. We're gonna have a public and we're gonna have a personal section. So all of the personal section, then this is taking into account all of the members. Each one's gonna have an envelope. They could put all of their stuff there, and this envelope is gonna be opened by them 5 years from today, and only they can open this. The public section is simply we're gonna have some like predictions, and we're gonna store everything that USG did, all of the news regarding COVID-19, the elections, absolutely everything that happened. I'm just gonna be sending an email with like further information of like what every person has to do, but it's just basically asking for funds for the time capsule.
Okay, how much funds are we talking? Or did you like already mention this?
Yes, it is $330. It's up to $330. So it might be around $20 less, but I am asking for $330 just to ensure that taxes and everything is covered.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. I open up the floor for discussion. Any comments, questions, concerns, amendments?
Yeah, I had a question for the personal envelopes. In like 5 years, I think you said, is that going to be mailed to the members, or like, do they have to come back to campus to open it? And yeah, just regarding that.
Yeah, so they have 2 options that I have. If you have recommendations, I'm really open to them. But my 2 options right now is having each member to email me a PDF document with everything that they would like to include. And I'm asking a PDF so I don't have to go and see it. And it could just be, I could go to the USG office, print it, put it inside an envelope and close it. But the second option is that if members are comfortable going to campus, or if they feel more comfortable doing their own envelope, they would definitely be able to come to campus and pick it up, and they just have to retrieve it to campus by the end of the semester, so we can store that in the time capsule.
Okay, any other comments, questions, concerns? Matthew?
Yeah, I have a question. So there's already a time capsule on campus. Would that be in the same container, or is it going to be a separate one?
I'm not sure which container. Okay, no. Sorry, I misunderstood your question. It's not gonna be the same container. It's gonna be a completely different one for the members that it's like for our members. I am talking right now with the administration to just see how we can bury it. But it would definitely be like, we're not gonna open that and put our stuff there. It's gonna be different. If we're not able to bury it because of COVID-19, we might be able to do that next year, or we can definitely store the capsule on our office too.
And
Oh, go ahead, Matthew.
Sorry, if we do bury it, do we have to pay for the plant?
I'm not sure because I haven't got answer from that. So my idea right now is that we're gonna close it and we're gonna keep it stored in the USG office. If there is any payment that goes allocated to that, I think that would have to wait a little bit, because I don't think we're able to bury it right now, because it would have to be kind of like with people and stuff like that. So I think definitely would be something that we would have to do next year. So right now I do not have that allocated in the funds.
I also have a quick question. If it were to get buried, I know for the one that's currently buried, they have like a little stone on top of it that kind of says, this is the USG time capsule. It's to be opened this year, and it just kind of like gives a little explanation. So if we do decide to bury it, would we have something like that, or how would it work?
Yeah, definitely. That would be the idea, and I would really like to bury it beside that. So maybe it could be something that we would kind of like take as a tradition for USG, because I'm not really sure how long are they expecting to open the last one, but I really want to make sure that this one is open whenever we are still here. So in 5 years, the idea for this time capsule is to open it in 5 years, and hopefully by then. So this is going to have two keys. One key is going to be given to Wasan, and one key is going to be given to me. And the whole idea is to kind of like have a reunion of whoever is in USG right now 5 years from now. And of course, this needs more planning because it's 5 years from now. But that's kind of like the whole idea, that we're all able to join together in 5 years and open this together. That's why it also has like a personal side and not only the public side, but everyone is able to open and just kind of like remember how 2020 and 2021 were crazy years, but also has a personal side where you're able to write a letter for yourself, for your mom, for your dad, just really everything that you want to include there.
Any other comments or questions? This is an awesome idea. I really love it. Okay, well, if there are no more questions, then this will be voted on next week. So let's move on to the next resolution, which is 2021-S10-101. Mohammed, would you like to just quickly either present or summarize this?
Sure. Can you guys hear me just fine? Alrighty, great. So this is a partnership with the Sustainability Department in which we'll be basically installing 3 electric scooter docking stations around campus. The current price that we're given this is that we will allocate this up to $4,000, but we expect to spend substantially less. Daisy, if you could just scroll down, you can see a picture of the docks and what they look like. As far as customization goes, we believe that the USG logo can be stenciled on there. And for further information and questions, the guest speaker, Catherine Yoshida, she'll be presenting next week. But yeah, that's
Okay.
it. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any comments, questions, or concerns about this resolution?
Yes. How many scooters does this come with? Or is it just a dog?
It's just a docking station. So the purpose behind this is to give USC students who have electric scooters more convenient to commute to and from campus. We currently plan to purchase 3 of these docks, and we'll place them either on the east or west side of campus, depending.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, if there are no questions, then this will be voted on next week. So you guys feel free to bring your questions next week. And the next order of business is items for discussion. So first we have USG Faculty Open Education Award. So Matthew, I know you wanted to talk more about it. So would you like to take it over from here? Matthew? USG Faculty Open Education Awards. Go ahead.
Yes. So if you go to my report, you can see the proposal Dr. Swacheno has provided for us. So basically, just very quickly, it's a award that is given to faculty if they use open education. This is in hopes that they'll promote open education for professors. Maybe they can add it to their resume or something if they really wanted to. You can see some proposed names for it, like USC Faculty Open Education Award or Education Leadership Award. Eligibility. Yeah, just professors who teach undergraduate courses using open educational resources. The nominations, I think this is unique, is that, or not the nominations, so yeah, the nominations can be self-nominated, or it can be nominated by a student or a colleague of the professor. And then if you scroll down a little bit more, you can see what submission materials are. The suggested award amount would be $500 per for the recipient. We were thinking 1 to 3 winners. And by the way, the award amount will be paid for by USG to these 1 to 3 winners. So we can just have 1 winner. We can have up to 3, but it just depends how much we want to pay for this award. And so this award will be managed. So okay, so we'll have an event hosted in collaboration maybe with the library or another department to recognize these professors. Management. So the UHC library will manage the award process, planning the event and the submission form. And all we have to do as the undergraduate student government is selecting the winners and providing the funds. So I think this gives I think it's great just for USG because it gives us shows that students are choosing these professors, and Dr. Swashano thinks it's more meaningful for the professors. And for this to get approved, most likely we're going to need it from the Office of the Provost, the Dean of Libraries, the Faculty Affairs, or Student Affairs, or even the Dean of Students from our end. And yeah, and then at the very bottom of the page, you can see some examples of these awards in other schools. IUPUI, I forgot the school that stands for, but that school, their student government selects the recipients of these awards. So that's why that's where our inspiration comes from, and it works just as fine for them. Yeah, I open the floor for discussion.
Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns?
Yeah, I have a slight concern with the cash prizes that we would be giving away. I don't actually think we're allowed to do that. So maybe creating like a plaque or like a trophy of some sort, like up to $500, and then giving that out instead of just cash prizes might be a better idea.
Yeah.
I think I can actually answer that. We wouldn't be paying faculty members or anyone really. We would be paying the library, essentially a fund created to manage this award. It could be like a 10-year program. If we were to give $5,000, the library could host 1 award winner for a span of 10 years. Alongside it, they're really going to take care of everything for us. Everything from a press release for the entire campus, right? Like Bayan says, like faculty appreciation programs, the whole party planning, like they're going to do all of that. We just have to pick the winners. We just have to say, oh, look, like I think Professor Wasson is really good at using open education resources, and he is really like pro-student in terms of making things affordable and accessible. I think he deserves this award. So things like that.
Yeah, thank you. That makes more sense. I think that should definitely be clarified in the award section.
For sure. Thanks.
Would we
Any other comment?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Would we get recommendations directly from students? Like I'm just thinking about like how we would even know that these professors are doing the open source initiatives. How would we find out about them or know that they're doing a good job?
Yes, so the students will submit the nomination form, and then we'll select from those nominees.
Okay, thank you.
Any other
And
comments? Anybody? Any thoughts? Okay.
so just one last thing, if no one has any question. We're just waiting for approval from the administration side to get this award official, and then I can submit a resolution, make this official on our end.
All right. Thank you for the update. Just a heads up, we only have 2 more meetings, so the resolution would either have to be next meeting or would have to be the last meeting with the executive order.
Okay.
Okay. Are there any other items for discussion? Okay. All right, so if not, then we can move on to the next order of business, which is report. Just for the sake of time, it looks like everybody's report will be limited to 1 minute. This time we will not have time for questions, but if you guys have any questions, you know how to find everybody, or feel free to ask in the chat. So let's hear from the advisor.
Yes. Greetings, everyone. I hope everyone had a great weekend. For the sake of time, I just wanted to share with you all to be on the lookout for an email from me about the mental health first aid certificate training. Details regarding the training will all be included in the email that I will send out before the end of this week. And that concludes our report.
Thank you. The next order of business is officer report. So may we please have the report of the president?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Just wanted to first say shout out to Dre for all the amazing work for UNI Care Week. We had a really cool set of meetings with 8 different units to pilot this gender-based violence prevention training program. We're looking to then meet with the chancellor to kind of get a campus-wide announcement. We just had a meeting with CSI. We're also meeting with athletics and housing to sort of continue this pilot. And next year, the goal is to, again, have this be part of academic affairs, have this be part of every student's instruction. We had a really cool meeting last Monday with the Title IX and OAE, and I think the other chairs will kind of talk a little further about this. We talked about some important things like accountability measures, publishing case timelines, annual reports with review, means to stick to the 60-day timeline, deputy coordinators projects, so on and so forth. I got a chance to present to the Graduate Student Council on this housing project that I also presented to you all today. They voted to commit 50 grand to it. We had some time to edit and share the APEDA letter with the cultural centers and other regional campuses. We are now going to debate the KEGS general education requirement on the 12th. We have a meeting with the chancellor in 2 weeks. Oh, also the letter on mandating cameras, not doing that was very effective.
All right, thank you. So next we have the report of the vice president.
Hi everyone. Hope you're all having a good day. I think there's not much more that I have to update since most of like the mental health initiative the work is going to be done this week. The meetings and stuff that we set up. And then other than that, like the Mental Health Coalition, we essentially, Dean Deanna asked me to present at a committee meeting for UI systems. So that's going to happen, but likely after finals. And then also Ms. LaTanja Ellis from Vice Chancellor Tolliver's executive leadership team also met with the coalition. And so she was talking about mental health trainings for faculty and students. So if that's something that anyone is interested in, I think it's been mentioned in USG meetings before, because I think Dre and Dahlia have been setting that up. But yeah, just make sure to let me know. And yeah, that is it.
All right, thank you, Hannah. Next, we have the report of the treasurer.
Yes, so the first and most important thing I want to talk about was the resolution that I presented last week where we had the Uber Eats vouchers. And so I've received clarification from our business associate from the Dean of Students office that because they're too similar to gift cards, we can't purchase them. And so Daniela and I and the Treasury Committee met with the business associate and we started planning alternative funding for food. And so I'm going to drop a form in the chat and please fill that out because it's going to be in relation to the initiative for getting everyone food. And so we plan on doing carry out from different locations just so that's convenient for all the members. And then we'll also have accommodations for those that we can't accommodate and such as like a reimbursement or something for like special circumstances. And the chess club purchase has been finished. The pre-law society resolution was introduced today. The Red Shoes review was passed, and then TAGA's COVID-19 awareness posters have been printed as well.
All right, thank you. So next we have my report. So let's see. So first of all, I talked to Bayan about the strike policy, and we kind of like came to a consensus. I also met with Matthew to discuss tying up loose ends. So thank you for meeting with me today. I also met with Kyla today to discuss the transition from me to her as the next speaker. I gave her the tasks to update the legislative documents. And we also talked about adding a secretary code to the resolution titles as per Daniela's request. And lastly, as per USG tradition, every year we get a plaque with everybody's name. So I'm working on purchasing one right now, and I will have more updates next week. So that's in the works, and that's pretty much all I have. So next, let's hear from the chief of staff.
Oh man, okay. So, a man is what he thinks about all day long. Reminds me of the quote, like you are what you eat. So first thing, there's a bill going on in the Illinois Congress. It's basically asking a report from every public institution on the cost savings of each institution. It started in the Senate, but has a sponsor in the House of Representatives, and we're actually meeting with that House sponsor, Representative Katie Stewart, Tuesday, 11 a.m., which is actually tomorrow, and she's the chairwoman of the Higher Education Committee. This is very exciting because I think everything's coming together for textbooks. Second meeting with Dr. Shano, report for the OER program recipients found below. We can look at that later. The Provost Search Sandy, the person who started the OER program, the search committee. She's on the search committee, so OER is on their, yeah, on their agenda.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's hear from the Diversity and Inclusion Committee Chair.
Could you scroll? I don't have it on my.
Sorry, that was my bad.
No, it's fine. Yeah, so I met with SGP to finalize the resolution. I met with Matthew for our bi-weekly meeting, and our committee meeting went well. We reviewed the student demands letter, and I also attended the Office of Access and Equity meeting, and the final event for Know Your Rights student protesters might get canceled because there's one speaker who can't attend. So we're still I'll update you guys on that. And I'm in contact with ARCAN, Office of Diversity, to create the API training. It might obviously not happen this semester, but we'll see what we can do, maybe summer or fall. I yield my time for questions. Oh, no questions, never mind, I'm done.
Thank you. Yeah, if there are any questions, you guys can ask in the chat, or you can just, email. Okay, so let's hear from the Legislative Affairs Committee Chair.
Alrighty, hey y'all. So we had the OAE meeting. I brought it up in our last meeting, so I'm not going to talk about it now. I worked on OAE initiatives, so working on emailing. I found out who does iAdvise, so I'm gonna route iAdvise, the people who run iAdvise, with the Title IX people, and hopefully there's a connection there. We had our e-board meeting, and we also had our mental health coalition meeting, and those all went well, and Hannah kind of touched on those. So moving on, we had our committee meeting this week. Our meeting again is going to be 9 p.m. on Wednesday, so 2 days from now. Let me know if you want that link. Just send me a text, send me an email. Our committee meeting, basically all of our time was working on the document that OAE sent us and splitting it up and working on making sure it looks good and all that fun stuff. And Misty is still working on finding spaces for the event. So all good.
Okay, thank you. So next, let's hear from the Public Relations Committee Chair.
Hello, good evening. Something significant we worked on is the website. Other than that, I yield my time. Thank you.
Okay, well, that was the quickest report we've ever gotten. Thank you, Michelle. Okay, let's see. So can we? Oh, wait, sorry. Oh, that was Aitana. I'm so sorry. Sounded exactly like Michelle. My bad. Wait, I'm confused. Was that Michelle or was that Aitana?
It was Aitana.
Okay, sorry about that. Wow, thanks, Michelle. Okay, let's hear from the Student Affairs Committee Chair.
Okay, so the Get Vaccinated campaign is going great. We voted on stickers today. We had a committee meeting last Friday, and we have like a big task coming up for all my committee members to write a mini reflection on how working in the Student Affairs Committee has been this semester. Then in terms of transition, I'm going to introduce the continuing Student Affairs members for next year to Dr. Chaplin to kind of familiarize themselves with the work she's doing and kind of continue that connection that she wants with students
liaison in terms of first year summer expansion. And in terms of the USG newsletter and website, met with Aitana, Brian, and Matthew to just go over some changes and perhaps like restructuring the newsletter to make it more USG centric.
Okay, thank you. Let us hear from this time Campus Life Committee Chair Michelle.
Hi, everyone. Hope you had a great week. Not much to report from me. During our committee meeting, we finalized the reopening questions that happened today. So thank you, everyone, for doing a great job. I have some meetings scheduled later in the week to get started on some initiatives. And lastly, the UA Artathon that Zeta's piloting is going well, and paintings have been submitted, and voting should start soon. That's it for me. I yield for questions.
Thank you. If you guys have any questions for anybody, feel free to either put them in the chat or message everybody directly. So the next order of business will be announcements. Does anybody have any announcements?
Yes, I just wanted to quickly announce that it is Vice President Hana Ahmed's birthday today. I wanted to take a quick second and sing happy birthday to her, if y'all don't mind.
Oh, are we singing? Are we singing?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Happy birthday
to
you. Happy
birthday.
birthday Happy birthday to you.
100 years.
Thank you, everybody.
You guys are the best. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for the announcement, Wasan. Happy birthday to you, Hannah. And are there any other announcements?
Yeah, I have a quick announcement.
Go
So
ahead.
I actually received my first dose of COVID vaccine, so I'm really happy today. That's my announcement.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any other announcements? I just wanted to say today's been kind of hectic, so thank you guys for dealing with me. And also, I wanted to apologize for kind of cutting off the last guest speakers. It just kind of, you know, they went a little over time, and yeah, I'm sorry about that. And yeah, any other announcements?
Before we forget, Aitana, did you still want to do like pictures at every meeting?
Yeah,
I know we like forget every time.
Anything else? Okay. All right. So if there are no more announcements, then we can move on to the next order of business, adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Has been moved and seconded. All those in favor of adjourning the meeting, please say aye.
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 All that opposed, please say nay. Does anybody abstain? Okay. The ayes have it, and this meeting is now adjourned at 8:16 p.m. Thank